We started out with virtually nothing. There was a black vinyl bag kept under the desk in the emergency department, which was dragged out when there was a call. It was covered with dust. In it were a few expired drugs, and you went along and grabbed this tool and that drug and that mask from the storage compartments, threw them in and jumped in a taxi, and off you went. There was no incubator, there was no monitor, there was no infusion pump, and when you got to the hospital you borrowed a few more things if you felt you needed them to travel with the ambulance and your patient towards the destination.
I was approached by Dr. Berry to fit a temperature box onto the top of the incubator so that when he was transporting sick babies, he'd at least know what their temperature was. There was no way of doing that. There was no electrical connections and no equipment that would allow him to do that. He wanted to do this quickly and because he was going to do a transport that day. So we adapted a system for him and put a temperature box onto the roof of the incubator.
The system grew in a series of stages with development of some very basic equipment with the assistance of some committed biomedical engineers. The funding obtained from hospital charitable sources and ambulances donated. Finally, we had nurses added to the team, and it wasn't until the end of the 1980s that we had medical helicopters made available to do this job properly.
You had some GPs who would go, "The cavalry's arrived," from the door as they heard the helicopter arriving and things like that.
What we'll do is Stephen's just going to do some observations on baby.
Most people aren't aware of nets unless their child has been sick, unless their baby is needed transport. And yet they may well have known after that experience about an ambulance or a helicopter or a plane coming to fetch them. What they may not have realised is the people actually treating their child were part of the NETS team. We went to Taipei a few years ago for a 7-month-old baby who was on a very sophisticated type of life support called a high-frequency ventilator. Saturation 100. So too much. We were contacted as being one of the only services in the world who had the capacity to rise to that challenge. We have over 50 people. If you like, those 50 people working at NETS are a miniature hospital. It's just that the hospital doesn't have walls, and we take the intensive care bed to wherever it is needed and set up shop, so to speak, for an hour or two in a hospital, be it big or small, so that we can then transport the baby or child safely and in an improving condition.
NETS co-ordination, Di Clifton.
This is the first port of call for people who want to get a child transferred. So they'll ring our special hotline number, we take their details, we put them into conference, we get our consultant, we get the team that are on call, decide any plan of care, get any other specialists who are required, and then task the team.
Okay, Doctor, if you'd like to hold the line, I'll get our consultant who's on today. That's Dr. Berry.
I've just taken a call from Maxine Percival, one of the GPs in Moree, and we're activating a retrieval team. And we'll get Professor Giles and whoever else is needed to discuss whether she is settling down, whether we can still move her before the birth, or whether it is going to be a neonatal retrieval.
Do you have a current heart rate and respiratory rate?
The baby's in relatively good condition at the moment, but these babies can swing either way.
Hi, it's me here.
Yeah, we had a conversation, as you know, with the GP.
For the doctor faced with an emergency, it's a bewildering prospect to ring big hospitals, to find the right person to talk to locate a bed, to then turn around and arrange vehicles, select between helicopter or plane or ambulance.
Hello, Child Flight 2. This is Diane from NETS.
Co-ord could stay on the line and just talk to air ambulance, please.
It's extremely valuable if you're working in a regional or a remote area to have experts at hand. As a single point of contact, just a single number, you're able to speak to the people who are arranging the transfer as well as the specialists who will be receiving. It's extremely important because they give us any advice that may be required, so we don't have to sit on the phone for half an hour ringing half a dozen different hospitals to get a destination for our patient.
And he can turn back to the patient, aided by the conversation he's had with a panel of experts, and focus on dealing with the child's needs while a team is coming to join him or her and to provide a seamless continuity of care towards the intensive care children's hospital where the child will finally be transported.
A lot better now. A lot better, okay. So
you would get back from transports, you would at times work for 24, 36 hours, and the sleep you got was in the helicopter or in the back of the aeroplane and things like that. And you would get back and someone would just take your equipment and go and wash it all and clean it and restock and go home, and someone would take it over for you, otherwise you would just be stuck. And doing it that way, we always knew that if we were called in, the equipment you were just going to pick up and push out the door was ready to go, fully stocked, fully working, with hopefully no problems to encounter.
Right, let's go.
Our top priority is to replace the life support systems that are so old.
And while they're still working, the equipment's obsolete in many ways. It's not as user-friendly as it might be for the nursing staff and doctors. And we'd really like to develop more systems along more modern technology.
Okay, listen, I'm inclined to change the mode of transport on this one. Can see if the pilots can take us to North Shore, and we'll get the night crew to take us, the night ambulance to bring us back.
You can't buy these systems off the shelf, and it takes several years to actually manufacture one. And if I could snap my fingers, I'd have a team of people building them furiously night and day to bring us up to date and allow us to cope with the increased demand. Our service is a lot about technology. It's a lot about sophisticated equipment and about helicopters. But at its core, it's about an attitude, it's about a culture, it's about saying to the doctor treating a sick child, you and your patient are the centre of the universe. We are one of the planets surrounding you, along with others. Let's see how we can all together work out what's going to be best for you. It's not about us sending our team, it's about us making sure the best and most appropriate team arrives at the bedside.
hello, you're wondering what I'm doing.
And parents have told me we had no idea there was so much investment of people's time and effort going into thinking about my little child. We're talking about babies and children who would die without a service like this, without the capacity to institute life-saving treatment in their own hospital.
I mean, they're setting up stuff so we can intubate her if we need to when we get there, but they don't.
We know that for babies, the survival rate is doubled by offering this sort of service, by being able to move the intensive care to the baby. My vision is to see us all not working as New South Wales Welshmen or women, or Sydney people or Newcastle people, but working to apply the lessons that we've learnt here at NETS right across Australia, so that it doesn't matter whether someone's in Moree or Moora or Morwell or Maree or Mariong or Moruya, they still get the service as if they live next door to the Sydney Children's Hospital at Randwick.